Hi everyone, so recently I've shared my video where I was salvaging my best collection from over 10,000 Hellfire Amulet crafts. I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely 5 digits. And that got me thinking that maybe I should also release my ideas for how to make Ubers great again. So here we go, and I want to share this with you because I feel that Ubers can be pretty cool, like maybe side end game to some degree. I really enjoyed doing them in the past, especially back in vanilla when they were really hard and had like these super crazy like 10-minute fights, and you had to stack up the Nephilim Whaler first sort of 5 times. It was kind of like a whole like process, just to do like one Uber fight. Yeah, it went into a game for like 45 minutes or so to do them all. And in the end you get some rewards, and I didn't even do it for the rewards. That was just a nice bonus. I just did them because I enjoyed them, because it was so much fun to fight these hard bosses and struggle to survive and do it on like MP10 solo. That was like a big accomplishment, and I kind of want to get back to that feeling a little bit. And on the other side, I also want to make Hellfire Amulets and maybe Hellfire Rings better as well, because well, they used to be meta, at least the amulets, for a long time for many builds. And now we have Squirts, we have Travelers, we have Flavor, we have some set amulets, and there's not really any reason to use a Hellfire Amulet for anyone ever anymore. And then there's a Hellfire Ring, which is completely pointless besides giving you like 0.4% more experience or something in rat runs, and that's about it. So yeah, who cares? And in the end, yeah, everything is useless. And it's not really fun to do. It's just going in, one-shotting the boss. It drops basically nothing of value. So stuff has to change. So I've collected these ideas here. I've been talking about some of them for a while already. And basically now I've written everything down in like a structured manner and want to present it to you. So first of all, I think the loot is more important than the fights. But making the fights interesting is also quite important, I think. I don't want to go in there and just one-shot the bosses and then get like my 4 Hellfire materials and then do that like 200 times or 500 times or however much I need to have a good chance of crafting good Hellfire. I want to have like a big fight and have some fun with that, and not just basically snooze fest it for like 10 hours straight. Anyway, let's start with the Hellfire Amulet. So I have 2 ideas for that, and I thought that it would be pretty cool to kind of like stick to like this lore fantasy of like the 7 prime evils that you combine into this one item. And one idea would be to make it roll 7 primary stats, and the other idea would be to make it 7 passives, but it disables all your other passives, like the chosen ones that you have. So it would be a lot of RNG to try to get the good ones. I think it could be even more RNG, for example, by making the 7 primary stat version not rerollable, for example, and make everything roll with higher values. So for example, you can have 130% crit damage, you can have 1300 dex on an ancient, and these kind of things. But you have to see that basically no one would ever get the perfect roll, because this would be pretty much impossible. And there's like some stats that kind of do something. Maybe you get like an attack speed roll, maybe you get like an extra air damage roll, stuff that you don't really put on the amulet, but it would be pretty nice to have. And maybe you just get some life per hit, which is also quite decent in many builds. So stuff like this I think would be amazing, just to have a bit of like a slot that can give you a lot of extra stuff if you try often enough. It would be kind of like a chase item. And the same with those 7 passives. Some builds have the issue that there's simply no passive that really makes sense. So obviously they don't go for Hellfire Amulets. But I don't want to make this like the Ultra Amulet for every build in the game. There are still Squirts, there's still Flavor. And for Wizards, for example, Squirts is like straight up 100% damage boost. For basically every T16 build, Squirts is 100% damage boost. You never lose it. For most speed farming builds, you have Squirts. And Flavor, for pushing, I would say is something like 30 to 50% bonus. It's hard to quantify because of cornered pylons, because of different values of shield pylons in certain builds and stuff like this. And Travelers is also maybe an average of like 80% increase, but it also needs a ring slot. So there's like some ups and downs for all of these sets. And I tried to basically get somewhere in that range of like 30 to 50% overall bonus compared to like any random amulet. So that was my idea here with those passives. In some cases it'll be a bit less because of, passive RNG. But the cool thing about this passive idea here, I believe, is that it also forces you to use some of those underused passives that no one would ever take. Something like Night Stalker, for example, on a Demon Hunter. I think that's a great passive, but no one would ever use it because it simply is not competitive compared to something even as simple as Ambush. But if you get your 3 good passives, and then you get maybe some like 2 mediocre passives, something like a Tactical Advantage and a Perfectionist, and then you get like the last 2 slots of some really kind of bad passives, but you'd still be happy to have them for free. Something like Night Stalker, something like Hot Pursuit or whatever. Stuff that you don't really take on, let's say, a pushing build. But I think it would be cool to kind of give more variety to what people have, what people run, and kind of like how the builds play a little bit. Maybe even get brooding, and you try to stack up some of the brooding effect. There's like some stuff like this, and I think this could make some builds quite interesting to play if you are forced into using like a decently rolled amulet with kind of the right passes, but not quite. I believe the Hellfire Amulet is by far the most important reward here. I don't really care about the other loot, I don't really care about the Hellfire Ring, but it would be nice to have some updates there as well. So I present some ideas for the Ring. As I said, Ring is really useless, so no one really uses that for anything besides like extra XP, but even that is like extremely marginal. So here I have an idea to basically have like a reverse Oculus Ring. So you get like this ground effect that spawns, like with whatever cooldown, let's say like 10 seconds. And then you get like more damage done to enemies in that ground effect. I think it would be pretty neat. Maybe this would only work for yourself, so you don't have like yet another insanely good support ring. So only from your attacks. And the values are debatable, but I think this would kind of put it in a range where it would be competitive and like another option to something like Convention of Elements or Compass Rose and these kind of things. So there's that. I believe with the right values this could be quite fun, because on the other hand you try to go into Oculus Ring yourself and you try to position enemies in the Hellfire Ring. So I think that would lead to some pretty interesting playstyles as well. Second option here is maybe to just have like kind of like a portal. So this Hellfire Ring maybe spits out more enemies, like some extra demons, like little Diablos, I don't know. So it could be anything. Maybe it would be just the same monsters that you have on the map or something, but that would be a little bit too lame maybe. Maybe that would be like some kind of good fit for that. And it would just spit out like whatever 10 guys or maybe one elite pack or something, so you get some extra loot in T16, or you get some extra progress and some extra area damage juice and stuff like this. This could be quite interesting and also potentially change builds dramatically, because somehow we can suddenly start pushing on much worse maps, because you can like kind of create your own density on over time, or at least get like a little bit of extra stuff. Obviously it shouldn't be too extreme, so but let's say that you get like 10% extra progress over the course of 15 minutes. Sure, why not? Yeah, and lastly, for the Uber bosses themselves, I believe that the fights, as I mentioned, they are too boring, too repetitive, no challenge, so stuff has to change here. I think the first option would be to make them scalable, so maybe you can have like an extra option in the obelisk in town, so you can kind of like select Uber bosses there and can like choose a difficulty that is like similar to GR levels. So you can go like really high, really crazy boss fights that last like 10 minutes and are super hard and need like 3 billion toughness to even survive some of the big attacks or something. So that would be cool. Maybe there would be more enemies, more bosses, more stuff just popping in with like spawns and portals and whatever, just make it super chaotic. I think this would be quite important, especially if we have this really high difficulty where Banishers Stricken would matter, and I want to make Banishers Stricken basically useless, because then you have kind of like more of a similar experience, I guess, instead of just getting in like this super crazy Heaven's Fury boss killer to carry you. I think that this would kind of like even it out a little bit more if you make it more of like an area damage fight than like a single target fight, so that, you know, more builds have actually a chance of, you know, kind of killing them, and you have, you know, just kind of like a sense of accomplishment when you manage to do it with like this and that build and so on, instead of only having a good chance when you play like Frenzy Barb or Heaven's Fury or something. Yeah, I've also, you know, just buffed the bosses themselves, you know, with like less crowd control and maybe more speed, and, you know, just make everything a bit more buffed basically, because the fights are really slow. You know, the bosses are the same as in the campaign, and everyone has seen them like 100 times. They're not really a challenge, and even if they deal a lot of damage, you can dodge most of the attacks quite easily. I believe that, you know, just making everything a bit more beefy would definitely help, you know, besides damage numbers. So that would be fine. Maybe you could add some environmental effects, you know, there could be like a lot of stuff. So I have some examples here, like meteors, earthquakes, frozen explosions, whatever, you know, something that is like kind of like RNG, and that changes from fight to fight and from game to game, and just, you know, kind of like makes the fight a bit of a different experience, you know, if there's like some randomness involved. Because not only are the fights repetitive and too easy, but also, yeah, it's always the same. So it's just, you walk in there, you know exactly what the bosses do, you know exactly which bosses Diablo will spawn. Yeah, it's not really interesting, you know, even if it was difficult. But obviously with an insane fight, there should be insane rewards. So when you do like this 10-minute fight or so, I don't see an issue with just, you know, straight up dropping like 50 materials or something, you know, just make it really juicy and reward people for doing these highest difficulties. And yeah, that would be cool. So I would just, you know, go in there, you know, with my craziest build, and then try to solo it, or maybe make a party for it, and we have like this, you know, Uber night, and we farm these, you know, like for 5 hours straight, and we craft like 500 Hellfires, and yeah, we get some crazy stuff. So I think this would be amazing. This would be kind of like this like seasonal event, you know, that people do to try to get a really juicy amulet. And yeah, I think that would be amazing to kind of also produce, you know, a different endgame, kind of like how you farm bounties for around 5 to 10% of your playtime. If you try to max out all the Forgotten Souls and use them all that you have. So this is typically a number. So maybe you would also have, you know, like maybe 5% of your playtime invested into Ubers, so that you can get like a decent amulet. And yeah, I think this would be just like another form of progression that would be very neat and interesting. Obviously, these are just some ideas that I produced, and it doesn't have to be like this, but overall we just need some kind of update to Ubers. We need some update to Hellfires, and yeah, maybe some inspiration for the devs, I hope, at least. So whatever the future brings, I don't know, but it would be amazing to see something happening here. So let me know what you think. Maybe you have some other cool ideas. Maybe you have some other ideas for like even completely new items, or a completely new purpose in general for these Uber fights. So let me know what you have, and hope you enjoyed my thoughts. See you guys next time.